Then what do you do to identify the deficit?
You go through the...
You think of yourself locally,
Yeah.
and then you see if regionally you're having an issue.
Oh my God.
And then if you're having a regional issue, it might be central modulation.
Oh, this
That's
is brutal.
giving you a movement deficit. Welcome back to Past Your Prime, the podcast for active adults balancing life, training, and rehab. I'm Alex Kiker, pro volleyball player, dad, and a guy who is currently being betrayed by his own anatomy. Now, if you've seen me on the court, you know I've been blessed with enormous calves. They're basically the size of small watermelons. On paper, I should have the most stable ankles in the league, but as it turns out, having giant muscles doesn't mean you don't have giant deficits. I've spent years trying to out-train my problems, thinking that if a muscle is big enough, it might just be working. But I've realized that my perspective as an athlete is often limited by where I feel the pain or where I see the muscle. When my back hurts, I fix my back. When my calf feels tight, I stretch the watermelon. Dude, we don't stretch, but that's fine.
What does that mean? You stretch the watermelon, though?
Because my calf is the size of a watermelon.
Yeah, I get it. Weird call. Yeah.
I was doing community service on Friday, and I was tasked with passing out watermelons.
Is that a joke?
That is not a joke.
That's actually what was happening?
That's actually true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. The guy just saw that I was, stronger than the rest of my group, I think,
so he was like,
and much larger than everybody. And he's like, you, watermelons.
yes. And they looked at your calf, and he's like,
yeah.
you smuggling
Smuggling
some watermelons?
These are for the community, sir.
Yeah. You monster.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Craig Smith. He's a physical therapist and a strength coach. Mm-hmm. And as alluded to in the intro, we are going to do a little bit of a deep dive into identifying deficits from a physical therapist, strength coach perspective. Yes. Why are we talking about this, Craig?
I think it's important.
Oh, okay. Not because I was trying to identify my own deficits and jumping high.
It could be that. I think the deficits talk is interesting. I think often what happens is people have hidden deficits or things that are contributing to why they feel the way they feel and maybe why things come back that they don't want to have come back, like an injury that seems to circle your calf every time you do volleyball in the sand, for example, or you go too long into a match. I think what often happens is you really pay attention to the thing that causes the pain or feels the pain, not so much the thing that causes the issue to happen in the first place. So when I say deficits, I often think of what we term contributing factors. And one of my favorite models for that is actually is a paper by Jones and O'Shaughnessy, where they discuss what causes somebody.
Did you just say by Jodeci?
O'Shaughnessy.
Okay.
I'm actually never quite confident if I'm saying that person's name.
R&B, but no. Okay.
I could never spell this person's name. It is 19 letters, I think.
Is that Irish?
It sounds Irish. And when I say it, I think I'm saying it correctly, but it could be a O'Shaughnessy.
Just butchered this dude's name.
But I think it's O'Shaughnessy.
Could be a lady, but anyway.
It could be a lady.
Yeah. What do we mean by deficits?
I'm looking specifically at things that are missing or contributing to somebody's pain or whatever injury they end up developing. I look at it along three lines: local issues, regional contributors, and then central contributors, which would be more like your central nervous system, how stuff gets modulated and changes how you produce the activity.
So you specifically think of it from a pain perspective. I had thought something slightly different, just in like limits of range of motion that maybe or maybe don't have pain factors associated to them.
Well, so the central would be more around pain, but the regional would be more regional contributors, which is I think what you probably typically think of, and that would be very much biomechanical.
And then I was also thinking of deficits in terms of like strength standards, which I don't think we'll dive too deep into today, but that was just my framing. So interesting that a physical therapist thinks of it much differently than a general idiot.
So the paper that I was quoting does those three. Our team actually does include movement as a fourth one, which I think would go more in lines of what you're saying, but you're not a general idiot.
Thank you.
Yes, I believe in you.
Local, regional idiot.
A regional idiot, though, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just dive into each of the three. What is a local deficit?
Local factor would be more just overall tissue health would be a good way to think of it. Reason, like, so when you think of an injury, there could be an inflammation process happening in the local tissue that then makes it so that you're predisposed to it. You could think of individuals who have issues with their circulatory system and they have excess swelling in their legs. They're going to be more predisposed to developing tendinopathies in the area where they're just being basically bathed in chemical irritation at all times. You could also look for neural injuries. Things are like, because of how the state of the local tissue is, it gives rise to other issues.
An acute injury be a local
It could
deficit?
It could
or
be.
contribute, I guess.
But I'm thinking more like, let's like imagine that there's not an injury there at all right now. And say somebody has chronic edema in the area, chronic swelling in the area, you would want to manage that local tissue issue to make sure this stuff doesn't come back. So those would be individuals, for example, like I'll think of somebody who has recurrent knee injuries. They may have swelling as an issue, but not actually be hurt. You may have them wear like a knee sleeve. You could do the same thing with somebody is predisposed to swelling is like the most obvious one that I think most individuals will see, but you could have anything that can basically mess up the local tissue health would be something that you'd want to be managing. I think a lot of times when I think of energy capacity, for example, we're thinking about bone health, you would want to make sure that you're getting enough
Milk.
calories,
Milk.
calcium, yes. So that the local bone structure is actually getting the tools that it needs to rebuild.
You just randomly talked about a knee sleeve, and I was at the gym dunking yesterday, and a random lady stopped me as I was walking out just to like use the restroom really quick, and I had my knee sleeve on, and she's like, "Does that help you?" And I was like, with what? She's like, "My knee has been killing me." And I was like, honestly, you probably don't need a knee sleeve. You probably need something different. And like part of me felt like a jerk, but I was just trying to be honest.
You wanted to cut her hope away. Yeah.
Well, it's just, sorry, ma'am. Like a knee sleeve is not going to fix your knee problems. It might make you feel better, but it's not going to fix your knee problems.
What?
And all of that happened in like 20 seconds.
Yeah,
but
what do you seem so approachable at the gym.
people
That's so
love
surprising.
to talk to me.
What?
I don't know
about
why.
you? What are you doing? Do you give them smiles or wings?
I'm generally a nice person, I suppose.
Do you overlook? Do you
No,
look at
I
them
don't
and
look
just
at
stare?
anybody. I mean, I like, this was at a basketball gym though. Like, you're around a lot of people at the, the fitness gym.
Yeah.
And, you're trying not to look at anybody individually. You're just like focused on your exercise. And like, I was just walking down the hallway and she just stopped me. She's like, "Sir, that thing on your knee, will that solve all of my problems?"
How old was she?
Old? Older? I mean, 50, 60? She was with her grandkids.
We're going to put a pin in this and come back to it. I feel like there's something suspicious happening.
It was totally like, I think she's taking her grandkids to like play with the Legos at the recreation center.
Okay. If anybody listening to this also thinks it's suspicious, please leave a comment. He seems to be getting a lot
occurrences. People just look to me for advice.
They do.
Yeah.
I was just, that's a fascinating thing we saw on.
I guess
Yeah.
that's what it is.
I see the knee sleeve.
But I'm dumb.
No, you're not dumb, but you're clearly one of those people who looks like you could give sage advice. That's what I'm like picking up on.
Yeah.
It could be the mustache.
I was wearing a wizard's costume, so.
Oh my God.
No, I was not. Anyway, so I don't understand local deficits, but maybe talking about the other ones will help me understand better. Sometimes if I get the full picture, I can put it together.
So let's imagine locally, the local tissue health, and say it's not making a conducive place for whatever could get injured there to be healthy. That's local.
Okay.
Whereas regional, you're thinking of anything in the body that could contribute that's not the specific spot where the future injury happens or potential injury could happen. So that could be if you hurt your knee, it could be because your glute medius, which helps to control some of the forces and motion that happen at your knee, is not actually firing. That would be a regional contributor.
Is my back and calf correlation this, or is it central?
Yours that's more regional. Yeah, regional influence.
Okay, because I feel like it might be central.
Well, we'll go into central. So central is very, so regional I think is more obvious. I think it's the one that's gotten the most press. You know, it's funny how many people come in and they've had a knee injury and then they're like, well, I've been working on my glute strength for years and everybody tells me I still have a glute issue. It never goes away, for example, right? That would be a regional contributor, but then it could turn into a central if the reason that their glute keeps shutting off is maybe they have a central issue that's driving muscle inhibition. That's a very different animal
than central.
So central for me is how your nervous system, your central nervous system modulates the symptoms in the area.
And that's why I related it to my back and my calf, because my calf seems to be a nervous system issue.
I would still say like your back would still be a regional contributor. So it just depends on very specifically what's driving which thing. So you have a calf issue.
My brain is just melting.
But it doesn't matter. The categories and those things, it's more just a way for you to be able to look at what thing I'm primarily going after. Typically when I think about modulation, I'm thinking about, or central modulation was a contributing factor. I'm thinking about, do you have a spinal reflex that's causing muscle inhibition? Do you have pain that's being amplified because of more of a central processing modulation issue? That's more what I'm thinking about when I think about central. When I think about regional, I am thinking a lot of times around like the biomechanical components of force and force transmission, that you're overloading a tissue because of what you do with your overall movements.
Yeah. All right. My mind is blown right
so
now.
So it's like one of those things. I've been told I do a poor job of explaining some of this stuff. Like it's not clear what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's a frustrating.
A little bit muddy to me.
I'm gonna have to work on that.
But maybe we can just talk about common deficits that you see, because I feel like I might be able to understand that with my very basic brain.
Oh, I love it. All right, go on.
Range of motion was the first one that came to my mind.
So range of motion would typically be a regional issue, a regional contributing factor. So for example,
okay, we'll just keep using this. So
we're going to keep on pulling it back to make it seem like it works. You're like, those categories suck. Let me just stick to what there are very clearly. Okay, you don't have the motion. We should get the motion back. Your wrist extension would be a range of motion contributing factor. If, for example, all of a sudden you got elbow pain because of it. So you have a motion limitation in your wrist. It causes a compensation at your elbow, and now you develop an elbow injury. The fix is, I would probably do stuff very specific to your elbow to make your elbow feel better. But the regional contributor that's going to cause it to come back, if I don't address it, would be your wrist range of motion.
And that's one that obviously there was some pain associated with it. The other one I think of is when I think I was having my TFL problem. Either you or Sarah put me on the table. I was on my stomach and my knees were flexed and like moving one side to kind of see the range of motion, and the other side just like didn't move at all. And I think it was the side that didn't have the TFL problem that didn't move at all. And it was just like, what the heck? And you guys were basically like, it's kind of a non-issue as long as you can do all the things that you need to do. I mean, who is laying on their back and moving their legs side to side in this manner on a normal day anyway? I was able to squat. I was able to do all the other, exercise movements that I wanted to, but still had a range of motion limitation that
that's a
was
very specific one.
Yeah.
So what is interesting to me for hips, for example, and you see this in other joints, the physical activities you did as a child, they impact how your bone and how your joint develops, and you can get what's called torsion in a bone, and the torsion will change the range of motion that you can have at a joint. So for example, some people will have way more hip external rotation than internal rotation, or it'll be different vice versa on one hip to the next hip. And then knowing that, you may want to do your squat a little bit differently. So individuals will typically be coached to do a squat in a very specific pattern. So say the range of motion is exactly the same, but it's shifted in one direction or the other, more internal rotation than external rotation. You may have to do the movement differently.
And I think for myself, that's based on being a 1-foot jumper for a long time.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. And then, I've recently read some things about the correlation between jumping as a kid and being able to jump higher in your adult life.
Oh, like that you've done it more when you were younger? Yeah. That makes total sense to me.
Just like you're better trained for that specific activity, but a little bit off track.
But it's not, though. So going back to range of motion, though, there's a minimum to be able to produce the activity. And if you have a range of motion limitation, that could be a local issue if it causes the injury at the local spot, but it could also be a regional issue. I'm totally harking back.
Yeah.
But they also
Go
could be,
for it.
yeah, that's mostly the thing. When I think about range of motion, I'm typically thinking about a joint, like a very specific thing. But then you could also do overall movements, like a toe touch, for example, that incorporate a whole bunch of different things all together. There can be reasons why somebody doesn't want to do a toe touch. Right?
That one's oddly gotten worse for me recently, and I don't know why.
You don't know why?
No.
How often are you testing it?
I don't know. I just randomly tested it last week, and I wasn't as far as the last time I did it. So I'm going to go hit some stretches after this.
God damn it. Well, so that would be, what do you think is actually causing them to be limited? I mean, once again, I think it's your back.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I just wanted to piss you off for a minute. I feel better about myself now. I don't know about you.
Oh my God. What's the next one?
Strength.
So strength is how we say that. I feel like it's one of those things where if you say the word wrong enough, often enough, you'll start to say it wrong all the time. It's frustrating.
Yeah. Strength. How do you spell that?
Spell
STRMF.
Well, the location of the G, I think, is always the most difficult part in spelling strength.
Yeah.
But as a side note, strength, I look at more just this is kind of where we were talking about strength standards. Sometimes we have strength standards where you're looking at, can you do a certain loaded movement at a high enough weight so that they can perform a certain level of performance? You were talking about 1.5 times body weight?
Squat.
Yeah.
And then a body weight hang clean, power clean, one of those.
In those situations, I'm not thinking about it as a deficit. I think that's a way that you're thinking of determining where you need to put focus on performance. Oftentimes when I think of strength, I'm looking more specifically at single muscles than overall performance within a more complex multi-joint movement, like a bench press, for example. I'd be looking more at, okay, do you have adequate and equal strength in your tricep on both sides? And if you don't,
looking for symmetries or asymmetries.
I like to look for symmetries in muscle for sure. I don't like to see asymmetrical muscle strength. And if I see, especially if it's substantial, you have something going on that we want to make sure we address.
Well, and as a volleyball player, my right arm does a lot of the spiking. Mm-hmm. And then I think of basketball players, they're probably doing a lot of their single leg jumps off of their left leg. So I think there are probably some sport specific asymmetries that are either normal or unavoidable. But
yeah, I mean, if you're a tennis player, I mean, it's really well described that you're going to have more muscularity, greater bone density on the side that you hit the ball with.
Also, to go back several episodes, apparently pedal is a real thing.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You didn't think it was.
Yeah, I learned that recently, that it was a real thing. So
why did you not believe me?
Because it just sounds weird. I was going to say use another adjective
well,
there.
It sounds
but
French, doesn't it? Isn't it French?
I don't know what it is.
Is that offensive that I just said it like that?
Yeah, kind of.
No?
I love me a good baguette, though, or a croissant.
It just seems that's how you would say that.
Pedal. I think that is how you say it.
Yeah.
But you don't say pedal.
Don't do the eyebrows. Hey, your wife is the French teacher, so we have to figure that one out.
We can get the country of origin for pedal.
Yeah, and then spell it. Can you spell it?
I would assume Padel, but
P-A-D? I'm not sure.
Okay, yes. We know literacy is my problem, so.
So before you took us down that road, yes, muscle strength is one. And I think that your ability to produce the strength, that's a big thing. Once again, there can be a local issue, a regional reason why, or a central modulation thing that drives it. It just tells you what you're actually addressing.
And then the last one is an endurance or inhibition.
So endurance. So for example, if we repeatedly test it and then all of a sudden it changes. Once again, that can be a local issue, regional or central.
I have another one.
Go ahead.
What if you have a technique deficit?
Ooh, for me, that would go under the movement idea.
Right,
movement
which is your fourth category that we didn't talk about or didn't pre-discuss at all.
We didn't discuss it, honestly, because I wanted to make sure the idea of contributing factors and the way that I like to look at it wasn't my original idea. I like how these guys talked about it, but I do think they were missing movement, just the overall way somebody produces a pattern. So, for example, you can have where somebody has an injury, you clear the injury, but their movement pattern that they developed when they had the injury doesn't go away. It doesn't normalize. And in those situations, people will come in and they have movement patterns that they've just done the exact same way. They'll heal the tissue, but then it comes back. heals, and then it comes back. So I think movements and making sure that the movements look good, they're patterned well, is such an important one such an important deficit to eventually make sure you manage.
Yeah. And in certain cases, it can not be a deficit. I think of the goofy footed volleyball players where typically as you're approaching, you do right, right. But there are people that have been trained left, left and can perform at the same or
What do you do to those people?
Just laugh at them for approaching the wrong way, but then they might spike it in your face. So
But think about it. Like if you switch those people, that would be a performance thing. That's interesting. Do you think it makes it so that their performance is worse?
You don't see it a lot at the highest level. I think everybody's pretty traditional in that manner, but yeah, I don't know if it changes performance all that much. Usually it's left-handed people that will do that, but when a right-handed person does it, it just looks different.
Well, I think we've kind of talked about it, but I told you earlier in my practice, I used to change people's running gait, and then I stopped doing it because it doesn't seem to do anything. It's interesting. I started going more down the route. If your coach wants to change how you do something, that's fine, and they're really focused on performance. But when it comes to the idea of making it so that you're not going to have an injury again, some of those movements, I don't have enough confidence to make the adjustments because your body develops accordingly to the biomechanics that you use. So somebody like that, you make that change, how do you know you're not just going to ruin them?
Nobody's trying to change LaMelo Ball shot. Seems to go in.
Boof.
Doesn't look traditional, but it goes in. So
no. He looks goofy across the board, but he is skilled. Like it is crazy how weird. He's got the weird factor down, but he is so good at basketball. He's very enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of those over the years that I think of that, yeah, their movement patterns are a little bit funky.
But man, is he good.
But they're effective.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about force absorption as well.
I think force absorbers that's important because if you don't absorb force well, you basically transfer it somewhere else. The most common one I think about is just the lower extremity. So if you don't have the ability to produce a normal eccentric load, like a specific type of muscular contraction, that can be an issue. And then you can have specific muscles that need to be very active in firing. So if somebody has a knee pain, we get their knee to feel better. You always want to finish up with, do they actually fire their glutes? Do they turn on appropriately? So quad strength really high and good, calf, pre-tibials, and then that your foot can handle and act like a spring. You want to make sure all those things are in place or else the person's going to be right back in with an injury.
And then the core.
Well, so the core, I often think about the core is very specific to joints in the body that have local stabilizers that basically keep the joint in a good, healthy place. The one that most people think about when we say core is like your abdominal low back area, right? But if you think about your foot has a core. It's like your plantar intrinsic muscles that stabilize the foot, and then you have your extrinsic muscles that actually help to produce movement. Same thing with the shoulder. You have your rotator cuff muscles, basically stabilize where the humeral head's on your glenoid fossa. And if those don't work well, the muscles that move the shoulder then actually can cause an issue. And so I think you should always normalize what other area you're talking about, the local stabilizers, which I like to term the core, and make sure that they're actually firing really well.
All right. So we can have these deficits pretty much anywhere in the body.
Yes.
How do those contribute to injuries or potential injuries?
Well, to go back to the way we categorize it, local, regional, central, and then movement.
Yeah, I like movement one because I certainly understand that one. That one, good to go on my book.
The reason you want to know which one of them it is that's driving it is that if you assume which of those four is driving what you just caught in the deficit, you make a mistake on what the real issue is. Like, so for example, for you have a combo between a central contributing factor and a regional contributing factor. So if I, for example, don't address both with your plan, you're going to overload your calf again. So it's not just that your calf seems to not handle load. It's that stuff happens around your back that then drives a change, a compensatory factor down at your calf. And if we don't address both things, you basically continue to feel worse.
Yeah, I'm just going to nod and smile every time you say local or regional.
I'm so happy This is so, I can't wait for people to be like, I have no idea. It's back to the drawing board for me on the terms on that one. Holy crap, that's hilarious.
Yeah, which I honestly, they seem to make sense, but just the connection's not there for me.
I'm so happy right now. I love that this is actually going to be a podcast that goes out there, because I think it makes it sound like the categories I use are, I've had people that I've talked to about this and they're nodding. Now I'm realizing none of it was connected.
Yeah,
they have no idea what I was talking about.
Honestly, don't care, Craig. If you could just tell me how to fix my deficits, that'd be great.
Oh my God, that's funny. So it's one of those categorizations that I'm just going to stick to whatever thing. I'll say it in a random way that makes no sense. That's great.
So I would say go to smithperformancecenter.com and sign up for a movement screening with probably not Craig, but one of his colleagues, if you want to understand what your deficits actually are.
Sounds like we got to have Danny come back through and like help with marketing. So the message today is, the message is not clear.
At least to me.
I love it.
But we know that
we literally went over this before we started the podcast.
Not the local regional part. We did. I think we talked about the movement part. I think we talked about the movement and strength deficits, and that was the premise for today. But yeah, you took it to the central, local, regional level.
But I don't know why I did that, but it happened. So
yeah, well done. Usually, I'm on board with all of your different systems, but yeah, once again, this one's just not clicking. So
all right, I must do more. I apologize, everybody.
So aside from those categories, why do people keep chasing the wrong thing?
I think it's not obvious what's actually causing somebody's issue. So
then what do you do to identify the deficit?
You go through
you think of yourself locally. And then you see if regionally you're having an issue. And then if you're having a regional issue, it might be central modulation.
This
that's
is brutal.
giving you a movement deficit.
Oh, this is so
I'm
brutal.
playing you right.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
It's one of those things where it totally makes sense to me. Let me give you an example. So from a regional standpoint, somebody has a risk for getting knee pain again. And they're like, why do I keep getting, yes.
Okay.
Or say they had knee pain and now the knee pain's gone and we're going through and I don't want them to get knee pain again. And I will check, for example, their hip abduction strength, which is where you're on your side. Your leg is basically up. I try to push your leg down to the table. You following me so far?
I've done this one before. I'm very strong on this one.
What if when I did that to you, it tested weak?
Like I just crumble to the side.
Crumbles to the side, right?
Yeah.
So what could be causing that?
The lack of clamshells that I'm doing.
It could be lack of clamshells. And if it's lack of clamshells, so I say I have you do a clamshell and it all comes back. What causes it then? Like
let's say you're a regional deficit.
A regional deficit. Well, but something's causing the glute to shut down, right?
I was going to say glute inhibition, but I didn't want you to know that I knew what you were talking about.
So that's not a strength issue in a traditional sense of you haven't gotten the glute strong enough to do it. It's something that's causing.
So regional is something that's not the local issue.
It's more that
my knee hurts, but it's not the knee that's causing the problem.
It's something else. And so there's a regional contribution of your glute not firing well.
Can you use that without using the word regional?
Yes, it is. You have an interdependence between the two spots.
Ooh.
And the interdependence is causing the issue at the knee. But the issue with this is now we're on the glute. Why is your glute shutting down?
Dr. Craig Smith, folks. Let's give him a round of applause.
That could be a central component. It could be a spinal reflex shutting it down, or it could be a true strength issue. And in that standpoint, we have to do a targeted strengthening program around the glute, which the issue is one of them you correct and it's corrected within 10 seconds. Another one, it takes 6 months.
I can't tell if you're angry or not because like the veins are like coming out of your neck right now. You're so jacked up about this right now. I love that.
I love it. It's funny. I was just having a conversation with somebody and they're like, I wasn't really following what you're saying. I was like, that sucks. I'm gonna have to get better at that later. And 30 minutes later, the person I'm doing all this with, they're like, you do a bad job explaining this. So yeah, back to the drawing board. I'll get better at talking about it.
So as simply as possible, can you please recap what we've talked about today?
There are reasons that you keep getting hurt. Okay.
Io comprende.
Those reasons could be simple. It could be also very complex. And you want to address the things that are causing the area that you're hurting in to become overloaded. And you want to approach that with the same intensity that you treated the injury with.
Let's just cut it off there.
I like it. That's it.
If you feel like you're constantly questioning what Craig says, be sure to subscribe.
That's brutal, dude. This episode was so brutal. Oh my God. That's funny.
All right, we're just going to leave it at that. I
Yeah.
love this.
Yeah.
I love this.
Okay.
Your
I'm
level
good.
of intensity
Was it through the roof?
increasing
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. I will.
Sorry to have triggered you through my incompetence.
There was no triggering through your incompetence. It was more, I realize I have some improvements to make. I appreciate that. Yeah.
All righty. We'll see you guys on the next one.
You might be, baby.
Peace.
Don't do that.
3, 2, 1. Clap.